Somewhere in the world right now, a baby is being born. And in the room where that happens, there are probably several people present. A partner, medical staff, perhaps family. There is preparation, there is protocol, there is equipment. And underneath all of that modern infrastructure is something far older, a set of instincts and social behaviors that did not begin in a hospital. They began in a world with no hospitals at all. The real answer to what ancient humans actually did when a baby was born is far stranger, and far more moving, than you might expect. For most of evolutionary history, childbirth was among the most dangerous events a human could experience. Not because ancient humans were fragile, but because the human baby presents a unique anatomical challenge that no other primate faces in quite the same way. Human infants are born with enormous heads relative to the birth canal, a consequence of the dramatic expansion of the human brain over the last 2 million years. This mismatch between head size and birth canal width means that human birth, unlike the birth of almost any other primate, almost always requires assistance. A chimpanzee can give birth alone, in a tree, without help. A human cannot. This is not a flaw. It is a fact about us that shaped everything. Anthropologist Wenda Trevathan at the University of New Mexico has spent decades studying the evolution of human birth and argues that the need for assistance during childbirth drove some of the earliest and most fundamental forms of human social cooperation. Long before language, long before tools of any sophistication, before fire was reliably controlled, human females appear to have sought out companions during birth, not because of cultural tradition, because survival depended on it. The evidence for this comes partly from skeletal anatomy and partly from the comparative study of birth across primates. In almost every other primate species, infants emerge from the birth canal facing forward, toward the mother, making it easy for the mother to guide the infant out herself. In humans, due to the rotation the infant must perform to navigate the curved birth canal, babies almost always emerge facing away from the mother. This means the mother cannot easily guide the infant without risking injury to the baby's neck or spine. Someone else needs to be there. Trevathan calls this the obstetric dilemma, and she argues that it is one of the most significant facts about human evolution. The requirement for a birth attendant created a social pressure that may have been one of the earliest drivers of pair bonding and cooperative community living. In a world where giving birth alone was genuinely dangerous, females who maintained close social bonds and sought assistance were more likely to survive and successfully deliver. The social instinct that brings people together around a birth is not modern. It is ancient and deep. But what did ancient humans actually do in those moments? Archaeological and anthropological evidence paints a picture that is simultaneously alien and recognizable. Among hunter-gatherer societies studied by anthropologists, the birth of a child was rarely a private event. It was a community event. Other women, particularly experienced mothers, gathered. Knowledge was transmitted. Support was given physically, verbally, and emotionally. The group absorbed the new arrival not as a peripheral event but as a central one. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer HRDY, whose work on cooperative breeding in humans has reshaped how scientists understand early human social life, argues that what happened when a baby was born in the ancient world reveals something fundamental about what makes humans unique among primates. In almost all other primate species, mothers are possessive and exclusive with their infants. A chimpanzee mother will not willingly hand her infant to another female, but human mothers routinely share infants, allow others to hold them, nurse them, and care for them. This behavior, which HRDY calls alloparenting, the care of infants by individuals other than the biological parents, appears to be ancient and deeply embedded in human social behavior. When a baby was born among ancient humans, the group may have responded with something that looked, from the outside, like a collective adoption. Aunts, grandmothers, older siblings, non-related females in the group, all may have participated in the care of the newborn in ways that go well beyond what any other primate does. This was not just kindness, it was strategy. Infants with more caregivers had higher survival rates. Mothers who could share the burden of infant care could have more children over their lifetimes. Groups that cooperated around child-rearing outcompete groups that did not. The grandmother hypothesis, developed by anthropologist Kristen Hawkes at the University of Utah, adds another dimension to this picture. Hawkes found, through studying the Hadza people of Tanzania, that grandmothers were among the most important figures in infant survival in hunter-gatherer societies. Older women who were no longer reproducing devoted enormous energy to feeding and caring for their daughters' children, dramatically improving those children's survival odds. This finding has broader implications. It suggests that human longevity beyond reproductive age, something unusual among primates, may have evolved because post-reproductive women were so valuable to their communities during childbirth and infant care. The arrival of a baby in the ancient world activated something that had been built over millions of years of social evolution. It brought the group together. It distributed care. It created obligations and bonds that extended beyond the immediate parents. It was the moment at which the community most clearly demonstrated what it was. There is one more dimension to this that is worth sitting with. In the archaeological record, there is evidence of ancient burial practices for infants that died at or shortly after birth. Across multiple ancient sites, researchers have found infant remains treated with the same care and deliberateness as adult burials, placed in specific positions, sometimes accompanied by objects, sometimes marked with ochre. The implication is significant. These were not discarded, they were mourned. The grief response to infant death appears to be ancient, and grief, as anthropologists understand it, is a social emotion. It involves others. It requires witness. The fact that ancient communities appear to have grieved their infants collectively suggests that the emotional investment in the arrival of a new life, the hope and the anxiety and the fierce protectiveness that attaches itself to a newborn, is not a modern refinement. It is something that has been present in human communities for as long as there have been human communities. A baby is being born somewhere in the world right now, and the people gathering around that birth, the support, the hope, the breath held until the first cry, all of it traces back to something that began before language, before cities, before everything we use to define civilization. It began the moment the first human could not give birth alone, and someone chose to stay.